Adobe Firefly is not the best AI video model right now. It's not even close. And I think that's one of the most important things happening in AI that nobody is talking about. Because the reason Firefly can't compete with the other models is the exact reason it might become the most powerful one ever made. Now let me explain. Every day I edit at minimum 5 hours in Premiere, and every other day I'm building something in After Effects. I'm not some outsider throwing rocks at this company. I personally genuinely love these tools, and I've literally built my entire career and business inside of them. So that's to say our company's success is tied firmly to Adobe winning this AI race. Some of you could say that I have a bit of stake in the game. And I know there are thousands of other people just like me, even just right here in the city. But right now, if you compare Firefly's video output to what's coming out of Kling, Runway, SeeDance, it is obviously behind. You can see it. I can see it. Everybody can see it. And if you're an Adobe user watching this, this might sting a little bit because this is the company that defined digital creativity. Photoshop, Premiere, After Effects, Illustrator. For decades, Adobe was the entire creative industry and still is for the most part. If you just made anything on screen, you probably made it in Adobe. So watching them trail behind startups in the biggest technology shift in our generation, that's frustrating. And I get why a lot of creators are looking at this and going like, what happened? Did Adobe fall asleep? Did they miss the moment? The answer is, at least at this point, is no. They made a very specific choice a couple years ago. And once you understand that choice and where it might potentially lead, I think you're gonna see this a little bit differently. In this interesting video, I'm gonna break down exactly why Firefly is where it is, why that's actually a position of strength, hear me out, and not a weakness. And then I'm gonna pitch you an idea, one that I believe could make Adobe the most dominant AI company on the planet and put money directly in your wallet as a creator every single year for the rest of your life. So stick with me for a second, because by the end of this video, you're gonna either think that I'm crazy or you're gonna wanna send this video to everyone at Adobe. Let's start out with what nobody in the AI space wants to say out loud. The models you're impressed by right now, the ones generating cinematic footage from a text prompt, most of them were trained on content they don't have the rights to. And I don't say that to be dramatic, it's just the reality of how these models were built. These companies scraped millions of hours of video from the internet. I'm talking about YouTube videos, independent films, stock footage, documentary work, vlogs, music videos, short films that took someone 6 months to make, all vacuumed up in seconds without permission, without credit, without a single dollar paid. Think about that for a second. Think about the video that you spent weeks editing. You color graded every shot. You agonized over the pacing. You found the perfect music, and then you exported it. You uploaded it, and it got a few thousand views, and you were proud of it. And then an AI company scraped that video along with millions of others and used it to train a model that now competes with you for creative work. That's not a hypothetical. That's actually what's happening. And look, guys, I'm not going to be hypocritical. I get why people don't talk about this. The output is impressive. When you see a model generate a photorealistic drone shot flying through a neon lit city at golden hour, you're not thinking about where did this training data come from? You're thinking, yo, that's incredible. Like, how can I use this for myself? And like, guys, trust me, if I'm making a little YouTube video like I'm making now, I'm gonna keep using SeeDance 2, 3, 4, 5, because it's just too good. But here's what's interesting. Say I get the massive opportunity of working on a national ad for a multinational corporation like, say, Nike. Well, then I'm probably not going to be using SeeDance 2.0 because that's way too risky. These companies know the legal ground underneath them is shaking. The lawsuits are already piling up. Major copyright cases are working through the courts right now. And the question that everyone is waiting on is this: does training on copyrighted material without permission constitute infringement? If the answer is yes, and a lot of legal experts believe it will be, then every model built on scraped data is potentially standing on a foundation made of sand. Now hold that thought, because this is exactly where Adobe enters that conversation. Adobe looked at the landscape. They saw what every other company was doing, scraping the internet, training on unlicensed content, moving fast and then worrying about the consequences later. And they said, no. Firefly is trained exclusively on Adobe stock content, openly licensed material, and content that Adobe has the legal rights to use. That's it. No scraped YouTube videos, no stolen footage, no gray areas, no, well, we'll figure this legal stuff out later. And I need you to understand just how significant that decision is, because it would have been so easy for Adobe to do what everyone else did. They have the resources, they have the engineering talent. They could have scraped the internet. They could have built a bigger model and probably would have had output that rivaled anything on the market right now. But they didn't, because Adobe understood something that I think a lot of these AI companies are going to learn potentially the hard way. You can't build a lasting business on a foundation that you don't own. Think of it like building a house. The other AI companies built their houses fast and they look great from the outside, beautiful architecture, impressive curb appeal, but they built on land that they don't have the deed to. And the real owners are starting to show up with lawyers. Adobe said, we're gonna build slower and we're gonna pour our own foundation. We're gonna make sure that every single brick in this house belongs to us. It might not be the biggest house on the block right now, but nobody can take it away from us. And here's the thing, it's not just about protecting Adobe, it's about protecting you, the user. If you generate something with Firefly right now, whether it be outside on the Firefly platform or maybe within Premiere or Photoshop, you know that you can use it commercially and with confidence know that it wasn't built on stolen work. There's no legal liability lurking underneath your generative fill in Photoshop. That IP indemnity matters, especially if you're working with brands, with clients, with anyone who's gonna ask, where did this come from? So here's the reframe that I need you to sit with. Firefly isn't a worse model. Firefly is the best model that you can build currently when you do it the right way, when you refuse to cut corners, when you refuse to steal from the people you claim to serve. That is not a limitation, that is a standard. And right now, Adobe is the only major player holding that line, at least for now. But what if being ethical didn't mean being left behind? What if there's a way for Adobe to have both the moral high ground as well as the best model in the world? This is what I want to talk about next. And honestly, I almost didn't want to share this because I think it's genuinely a billion-dollar idea. But I think it's more important that this conversation actually happens. Okay, so stay with me here because I've been thinking about this for a while, and the more that I think about it, the more that I think that this is one of those ideas that seems obvious in hindsight, but someone just has to say it first. Okay, so let's go back to those other AI companies for a second. The ones training on scraped content. What are they actually training on? Where were most of those videos made? Think about that. Premiere Pro and After Effects. The irony is genuinely insane when you think about it because these companies are illegally scraping videos that were likely edited in Adobe's own software and using that to build competing AI models. Adobe's tools created the very content that other companies are stealing to compete with Adobe. But here's where it gets really interesting, because those companies only got the output. They only got the final video, the pixels on the screen. But what they didn't get, and what they will never get access to, is the timeline. And I need you to understand why that difference is everything. A finished video, guys, is like looking at a painting in a museum. You can study it, you can analyze the colors, the composition, the brush strokes, and if you're an AI, you can learn to replicate what it looks like. But the timeline is like sitting next to the painter while they actually work, watching every decision they make, seeing which brushstroke that they tried and then undid, which color they mixed and then rejected, where they paused, where they sped up, what they kept and then what they threw away. The timeline doesn't just show you what the video looks like at the very end, it shows you how it was actually made. And more importantly, why it was made that way. Every cut in a timeline is like a decision. Every transition is a choice. Every time an editor slides a clip 2 frames to the right, that's creative intelligence. That's years of experience compressed into a micro adjustment that you'd never see just in the final export, but completely changes how an edit feels. Think about what a model could learn from that data. Not just what good videos look like, but how good editors think. All this knowledge right here, that's not just video generation, that's editorial intelligence. And no company on earth has access to that type of data except Adobe. So here's my pitch, and I mean this genuinely. What if Adobe went to its power users? The editors, the motion designers, the filmmakers, the people who literally live inside Premiere and After Effects 8, 10, 12 hours a day. And they said this: We want to license your timelines, your edit decisions, your creative process, and we're going to pay you for them. We're not going to scrape them. We could have scraped all this information the entire time, but we're not going to scrape it. We're not going to take it. We're going to license it with your consent, with contracts, with money. Imagine Adobe offered 50,000 of its most talented users something like $10,000 a year to contribute their timeline data. All of it would be anonymous, structured, and fed into training that would become the most advanced video model and maybe even the most advanced visual intelligence model ever created. So let's do some math. 50,000 users, $10,000 each. That's about $500 million in annual investment. And I know what you're thinking. That's a massive number, like $500 million a year. Who's going to fund that? I actually did this previously, but this is where the math actually gets really fun, because this isn't a startup pitch where we need to hope for funding rounds. This is Adobe that we're talking about. Now, I didn't study finance in college, but I was able to find that Adobe just reported their most recent quarterly financials, their net income. And I want this to be clear. I'm not talking about revenue. I'm talking about actual profit. It was about $1.89 billion in a single quarter. That's like 90 days. They generated nearly $3 billion in operating cash flow. Subscription revenue evidently grew 13% year over year. They're actually calling it a record quarter, and I guess it was. So let's put the 500 million in context. Adobe makes roughly 1.89 billion in profit every quarter. That's about $630 million a month, which means that this entire annual investment, the full 500 million to build the most advanced AI model in history, is less than what Adobe earns in profit in a single month. Think about that. Less than 1 month of profit to fund something that could define the next decade of their business. And what would they get for that investment? Let's actually think about this. They wouldn't just get a model that generates video, they'd get a model that understands editing. Something all the current new models like VO 3.1, Kling 3.0, SeeDance 2.0 are trying to dabble in if you didn't already notice. I'm talking about a model that understands pacing, that understands why you cut on action, why you let a shot breathe for 2 extra seconds in a documentary, but cut it tight in a commercial, why this color grade tells the audience something is wrong, and this one tells them that everything is beautiful. No other company can build that, period. Because no other company has that timeline data. Google doesn't even have it. OpenAI doesn't have it. The only place that data exists is inside Adobe's ecosystem, and it only becomes available if users choose to share it. And here's what makes this a compounding investment, not a sunk cost. Year one, you'd sign up maybe 50,000 editors. The model then starts learning. It's good, but it's early. Year two, though, those same editors contribute another year of timelines. Different projects, different clients, different styles. The model then gets smarter, and then maybe you onboard another 10,000 editors. And then you get to year three, and the training data has tripled. The model now understands editing at a level no human could teach explicitly because it's learned from the combined experience of tens of thousands of professional editors working in real-world conditions. It's like compound interest, but for creative intelligence. Every year, the model gets exponentially better because every year there's more data, more diverse projects, more edge cases, more creative decisions to learn from. And the products that Adobe could launch from that foundation, AI-assisted rough cuts that actually understand story structure, intelligent color grading that adapts to editorial intent, not just visual analysis, sound design suggestions based on pacing, automatic B-roll selection that understands context, not just keywords. We're not talking about incremental features. We're talking about tools that could generate billions in new revenue every quarter. Products so powerful that every competitor would be years behind because they'd be trying to replicate results without access to the one thing that makes the model work, the timelines. Now, if this is clicking for you, and if you think that this is the type of conversation that the creative industry needs to be having, then please subscribe to this channel. Drop a comment and tell me, would you opt in? If Adobe just left you like a $10,000 check to enjoy in January all at once, that you'd know you'd get again in a year for the rest of your life, would you opt in? Like, I want to know. Leave me a comment. Now, here's the part that really gets me. This is like the part that I keep thinking about late at night that I just can't let go of. Forget the model for a second. Forget Adobe. Forget this whole business case. Let's talk about what it means for you as a creator. Right now, the way the creative economy works is you trade time for money. You edit a video, you get paid, the video goes out into the world, that's it. The transaction is done. And if you're actually really lucky, You build a library of work on YouTube that generates ad revenue over time. But for most of you guys out there, most of you video editors, the ones actually doing the majority of the craft work, once a project wraps, the income just stops. But what if it didn't? What if your creative decisions, the actual taste and instinct and skill you've developed over years of doing this work, could generate more value long-term after the project's done? And every year, you get a check. Not because you went viral, not because you gamed the algorithm, not because you actually found that perfect client that pays you on time and consistently every month, but because of your creative intelligence. The thing that you spent your entire career building is now powering tools that the entire world uses. That is a royalty. A real one. And this isn't a weird concept. Like, musicians get royalties every time their song plays. Authors get royalties every time their book sells. Actors get like residuals every time their show streams. This idea that creative work has ongoing value isn't new. We just have never applied it to video editing. But think about how much more fair that would be than what's happening right now. Right now, AI companies took your work without asking. They made billions and you got nothing. Not a credit, not a dollar, not even a notification. In this currently imaginary model, you would opt in, you'd get paid every year, and you'd know that your creative contribution is being respected, not exploited. Like, how cool would it be to know that every time someone uses AI-assisted editing in Premiere, your taste, your instincts, your thousands of hours of experience are baked into that intelligence? That is not a fantasy. That technology exists. The infrastructure exists. Adobe already has the tools to collect timeline data. They have the legal team to structure consent agreements. They have the distribution to deploy this model to millions of users literally overnight. And as we just talked about, they have almost $2 billion a quarter in profit to fund it. The only thing missing is the will to do it. At the top of this video, you probably thought Firefly being behind was a problem. Maybe you were frustrated. Maybe you were worried about Adobe. Well, now, hopefully you know the full picture. Adobe chose to build AI the right way at the cost of falling behind in the short term. And that decision, the one that looks like a weakness right now, is exactly what puts them in an interesting position to build something that no other company is going to be able to touch. So if you think that $10,000, maybe more a year, royalty sounds nice, you should check out this video where I discuss how one person is going to use AI to create $100 million film. Check it out because that person could be you.